Hey, today I'm going to show you how to get started with the Omnata Google Sheets plugin on the Snowflake marketplace. So we'll start by installing the Google Sheets plugin into our account, and it'll take a couple of minutes, and then we can open up the app and begin the onboarding process. The onboarding process is going to ask you a couple of questions. The first one is going to be, have you installed the Omnata sync engine? Now, to use Omnata, you actually need two native apps. You need the plugin, and you also need the sync engine, and this drives the actual data syncs to and from Snowflake. The Google Sheets plugin is free to use, so if you haven't installed the sync engine, go and do that, and then once you've done that, you can come back to the plugin configuration. Now, what we're doing in this onboarding is we're actually configuring the plugin to talk to the Omnata sync engine. We have to run a couple of grant statements, and the onboarding will provide you with those little snippets of SQL just to copy paste into a SQL worksheet. You have to be an account admin to run these grant statements. So if you're not an account admin, you may have to get somebody else to complete the onboarding at the start. You only have to do this once when you configure the app for the first time. Once you click Show Next Step, the app will check that you've done it properly and then give you the next step. You don't need to modify the code, you just copy and paste it as it is. Once it's installed, you'll see the green banner and you're good to go. So going back to the apps, we can now open the Omnata sync engine, and we can start to create a connection to Google Sheets. So first we go to connections, and this shows all the connections that are already made, and we want to create a new connection. We can see that Google Sheets is there because that's a plugin that we've installed, and we just want to give our connection some name and some details, and we're going to use OAuth to connect to our Google account. Now, all of this is documented at docs.omnata.com, and it shows you exactly how we're going to connect to our Google Sheets account using OAuth. Clicking the link, it'll take us to our Google console. We have to start by creating a new OAuth client. So we choose a web application, give it a name, and the only thing we have to do is create a redirect URI. Now, we find that out by taking the script that's in our docs and running it in a SQL worksheet in your account. And that's going to give you the URI for your Snowflake deployment. So we just run that and copy paste it back to our Google configuration, and then we save those OAuth credentials. So then Google is going to give us our client ID and our client secret, and we just paste both of those into the Omnata flow. And then the next step is going to give us another script to run to create that integration directly to Google Sheets. You just run the script as it is. Again, you have to be an account admin to create these external access integrations. And at each step, Omnata is going to check that you've completed the previous step properly. Again, you can always leave the connection flow if somebody else has to run that script for you, and you can re-enter at the same point. So Omnata will automatically save your progress. So there are 3 steps to run to create this external access integration. And on the final step, we complete the OAuth flow. Now, this is the most complicated script to run because you have to run it in 2 parts. So you'll see in the notes that there's the first line that you run. And when you run this, you'll be given a link. Opening that link, that takes you to the familiar looking OAuth flow where you allow Omnata access. And then the second part is a bit fiddly. You have to grab the URL from that screen, I like to paste it in as a note, and then you want to select all of that string after the question mark. And then you need to add that into the second query and then run it. Now this is a little bit fiddly, but thankfully you only have to do this once to create the connection. Once you've done that, that OAuth flow is complete. And then we just have to click to authorize those external access integrations to Google. So we can see the connection is now there in our list of connections. So now over to Google Sheets. Now this is the sheet that we actually want to load into Snowflake. So now we go to New Sync in Omnata, and we follow this process. So it's a 4-step process. We pick the app that we want to sync to or from. We choose the connection that we've already created, and then we're going to configure the actual sync. So we could sync inbound and outbound, but we're going to pull that spreadsheet into Snowflake, and we're just going to paste in the name of it, which is sample customer list, and then we can choose what we want to sync from that. So there's only one sheet in that sheets file. If we click view, in the sidebar, we can actually view the columns of that sheet. And then we can set the behavior of new objects. So if there's a new column in Google, we want that new column to be reflected in Snowflake as well. We select the sync strategy. So in Google Sheets, we can do a full refresh of that table every day. And then finally, we're going to deploy it. So we're going to run that on a daily schedule. And when we click that through, that will be off and running. So now it's created, we can click to view the sync. And on the sync dashboard, we can kind of see all of the information that we would like to about that sync. And if we click over to controls, we're just going to run that manually now because we're not going to wait for the daily schedule. So I've initiated that run, and then we'll just give that a minute to run. So that's run. We can see that it's healthy, and then we can click in and view the records. So there's the sheet, and there are the records that we pulled in. We can then go search through those records just to make sure, do a sanity check that it's there. So if we click out of the app, we can find all inbound data sets that Omnata syncs in the Omnata Sync Engine database, the inbound normalized schema. So it goes from raw data, and it splits that raw data out into columns for you. And you can see in this preview, we have a replica of our Sheets data set that will refresh itself once per day. So there you have it. 10 minutes, you've gone from install off the marketplace to connecting to your Google account to syncing your first data set inbound from Google Sheets. Thanks for watching.